Recaparino Cappuccino. He plays in a game with me. He tries to kill me anyway. All those who worship Asmodeus say, yay. Welcome, everybody.
Praise Asmodeus indeed.
Right.
That was some fun from last night. Yeah, a little bit of PvP.
Little bit of PvP. Yeah.
Welcome to the Flycast. Everyone here hanging out live. Awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for watching us live. If you're watching later on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. As always, if you have not before, go ahead and click a link or follow a link wherever you're watching this. There should be one. Join the Discord. That way you can find out what we're talking about and leave questions in advance, as well as stay connected with all the other fun stuff we do. But, hi, I'm John, that's Steve. We are just a couple of nerds with a bunch of D&D experience, love playing D&D, been DMs for a while, decided we were going to go ahead and make a podcast, and it's going strong. This is episode 15 now, so normally what we do is we end up just taking a little bit of a topic and talking about it for a little while, then taking questions, but we have decided every 5th episode is going to be a ranking episode, so this is episode 15, means it's another ranking episode. Also, happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way, just remembered that as I'm wearing my Dropkick Murphy shirt. Fun. But yeah, this week is going to be a ranking episode, so these are always fun. First one we did was on like our favorite classes. We talked about our favorite moments, and today we decided we were going to talk about our top 5 favorite monsters from 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Now, in putting this together, realized that top 5 is incredibly difficult, and to be honest, it's possible that these aren't actually our top 5, but they're up there anyway. They're some of our favorites. I've got a list of honorable mentions here that's easily like 15, 20, if not more. It's really hard to nail down 5, but we're going to try and do it, mention why we like them so much. There'll probably be some themes in here a little bit. So let's go ahead and jump on in and get started. I think, I don't know, do you want to start with one, Steve, or should I go?
Sure. I'll start with one. I think I already told you before we got started, so I'm going to start with one of my favorites. Orcs. You know what? You know the cool thing about orcs is they're not overly powerful. Now there are several different types of different creatures that you can get. So I'm trying to lump them in like in one spot, but you can.
I've got one a couple actually that I'm kind of doing that with. So yeah.
Right. So like there's several different types, but I won't bore you with the ones. But like when you're creating like encounters, like if you want like my next game, they're gonna be doing like this Lord of the Rings style fight with orcs. We're gonna have our own little like, Helm's Deep, literally. We're going to have the thunder. We're going to have the lightning. We got a rain effect on the map. And we got a bunch of orcs. Exactly. So we got, I even got it to where, like, I've done some big battles in the past, like most people have seen me do. And I think I've kind of got it down to a science now. So I actually have a map where they roll against each other. I made like each token worth 1,000 soldiers, gave it XYZ hit points, so that way it's easier for us to track. And then I also have a small map for skirmishes too, so they're going to really like that. Yeah. So orcs for me are great because they're very vicious creatures. I hesitate to call them monsters because they're basically a race now in D&D, like pure race. But they're great. They're good to they wield big axes and they can drop a low level party pretty easily. Like the threat is there, and if you have enough of them, even a high level party is going to have a hard time dealing with it. So you can use them for all sorts of things.
Yeah, I think they're pretty great because they're so versatile too, right? Like you were saying, there's the standard orc stat block in the monster manual, but then there's like 4 or 5 more in Volos, and then there's like There's like you can make a half orc, you can like there's a lot that you can do with them, and even just the standard orc stat block is super interesting because they've got that like um where they can charge as a bonus action or whatever, basically.
Right. Yeah, you can really catch some players off ground when they move like 60 freaking
move
feet.
so fast, and they have that great axe. So like even one or two orcs at a low level party is going to have a hard time against them. So they're pretty vicious. That is a good one. That's probably one of my favorites of like the standard, just kind of monsters that you see in just about every campaign too. I like those a lot.
At least in mine, I do go back and forth. I try to change some things up depending on the campaign that I'm running.
Yeah,
but this is a go-to for me.
Yeah, they're good. My number 5 is so orc is a fairly low level monster, but they still can challenge higher level parties. My number 5 is a higher level monster. It's actually the most powerful monster on my list. It's Beholder. I think they're just really they're so iconic, right? Like when you think Dungeons and Dragons, there's a few monsters that kind of come to mind. Obviously, dragons are one of them, but a Beholder is so incredibly iconic. There's nothing quite like it. There's just this blob with eye stalks attached to it. It's so weird looking, just hovering there and whatnot. But there's so much to it with them being like such crazy intelligent creatures, which I think is really cool. I think it's a lot of fun to, and again, these are going to be coming from a DM perspective, right? So like, I think it's a lot of fun as a DM to run more intelligent monsters. So someone like that, a creature like that you can really, really plan out, like, this creature's very smart and very vain. It's created its lair specifically for, like, its own defense and everything, its own preservation, but then, like, I also really love how vain they are. Like, they're one of the most hideous things that you could draw, but they believe themselves to be, like, absolute perfection of like beauty personified and whatnot, and it's a really like I think it's just such a fun like contradiction that they can be a lot of fun. Plus like the mechanic of running them is so unique when they have those what is it, 8 or 10, I can't remember, different eye stalks, and you roll a die to see which one shoots at what person or whatever. I think that's a lot of fun, that rather than, I think there's a lot of like boss monsters that more or less come down to, I hit the thing hits me back. And that's, I mean, you can obviously vary it and get creative, but that's more or less what ends up happening. Whereas with the Beholder, it's all like, you have no idea what's going to happen. It's just shooting these eye stalks off like crazy. You're rolling a die to see, okay, am I disintegrating you, or am I paralyzing you, or am I just like throwing you against a wall? Like, all sorts of crazy things are happening, and it's a fun way for like one monster to really feel like it is a really powerful creature doing all sorts of things, fighting off an entire party all by itself, and it makes a lot of sense because the eye stalks are kind of going crazy. Plus, with so there's that, but then also with the addition of some of the other like Beholder kin, I guess. I would call them, like, there's gazers, and I can't remember what all else, but there's a few in Volos that kind of spread the Beholder out to where you can have a gazer, which is basically like a mini Beholder. Players can fight that at level 1, maybe 2, and they should be fine. If it's just one of them. And then there's a Gauth, or however you pronounce it, that's like a CR 6 or 7. Party can fight that at level 3, 4, and totally be fine. So you can use these like Beholders and Beholder kin as low as level 1, as long as you kind of choose the right one. You can still kind of get that same effect of the eye stalks and the fun mechanic there too. I think that's gonna kind of be a theme of my list, is everything on here has an interesting mechanic that I like to use.
Right.
So that's Beholder. That's my number 5.
All right. Well, I think theme is appropriate because, like I said, I like things that are not necessarily the mechanics, but I like the themes of them for sure. Like I like
Mhm.
trolls. I
Yeah.
do because like it's like you get a level 2 or 3 party walking through the woods. They get lost and they run into a troll or two. Now they may not necessarily think it's a big deal. And I've given my players the ability to get the jump on a troll before, and the troll never got a chance to hit him. But what they thought it wasn't a big deal. But I had to explain to them after the game, if that troll got its hands on you and you didn't get the jump on him,
Yep.
one of you would have been down at the very least.
Yep.
So you put 3 trolls in there who have multi attacks. They bite you, they stink to high heaven, and they regenerate. That is a difficult combat, and the fun thing is you can. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I want to eat deer. You just get to play this lumbering idiot who's just like they're not supposed to be smart. It's a funny thing. You
Right.
can make it funny and deadly too. I mean, if you look at their picture, they're nasty, claws, teeth, and there are several different versions of them too. I like
Yeah.
to go with the good old tried and true, but if you want to mix it up.
Well, some of the other ones are really interesting. Like the dire troll is just so much more powerful, or like the spirit troll is just a completely different
Yup.
monster altogether, basically. Yeah, I like trolls a lot. They didn't quite make my list. They're one of my honorable mentions, but that's another one to where like
Oh my bad. They get
it's
3
a
attacks.
fun 2 claws and a bite, I think, for the standard troll.
Yeah.
They have that
Crazy.
fun regen mechanic, which like, I mean, after you face them once, your players will know fire you have to use to kill them or whatever. But
Right.
but that can be a lot of fun, especially for new players if they're not realizing what's happening. Like, not only is this creature regenerating, but maybe they can do enough damage still to kill it. But that first time that you kill a troll, and then the next round happens, and that thing stands up and swipes at a player, they're like, the party won't forget that. I think that's a really cool use. And then, I mean, just kind of going back to, there are more trolls than just that standard one. That can be a lot of fun too, because yeah, a seasoned D&D party probably knows that you need fire to kill a troll. But what about the spirit troll? I can't remember what it is, but I think it's like radiant or necrotic damage that you have to do it to it, or something like that.
Crazy.
I can't remember it off the top of my head, but if you do the fire like you would normally expect to with a troll, okay, yeah, it'll take the fire damage, but it will come back. Like, it will regenerate and then attack you again unless you get the right element. And I think that's a really fun mechanic. Again, like 5e simplifies so much stuff, but it's really fun when there is a fresh, new, different mechanic for a monster to get to play with. So yeah, I agree. I think trolls are fantastic. And I also really like, trolls just kind of in common, like folklore and whatnot, have so many different, like, versions of them. I really like the D&D 5e version of the troll. Just this, like it's a giant kin, but a lesser giant kin. Stinks like crazy.
Right, man.
I like him. My number 4. These are the weakest creatures on my list, actually. My number 4 are mephits.
Things are irritating.
I may or may not have killed Steve with a mephit before.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
These are, if you don't know what they are kind of like mini elemental imps, basically. They are size small or tiny, I can't remember, but they're small creatures. They all have wings, fly around and buzz around and annoy the hell out of people, but they all take on some sort of elemental form. So there's a number of them. There's a mud mephit, a steam mephit, a smoke mephit, a magma mephit, and I'm sure there's 1 or 2 more that I can't remember right now, like a sand one, I think. but they normally incorporate one or two different elements, and they all kind of like have different attacks and whatnot, and then they all do a certain thing on death. Like I think the magma one like explodes on death. I think the smoke one doesn't do any damage, but it obscures a certain area around it. And that's actually what happened to Steve. They were fighting these mephits. He was in melee and got someone killed a smoke mephit, I think it was, right next to him, and he either went down right after that or right before that, and the area got obscured, so no one could find him to to like heal him or get him back up or anything, and he ended up failing his death saves. But they're all like a CR 1/4 or 1/2, depending on which one you use. So you can use them all the way at level 1 or kind of up through certain levels, and they bring a very interesting, unique, again, a different mechanic. Like on death, they all do different things. It'll keep your party on edge, and then they all are different, like have different elemental abilities. So like the magma one, I'm almost positive it's either immune or resistant to fire. So on and so forth. So the party might need to use different tactics to beat them, try and stay away from them when they explode, stuff like that. Again, those are the things that I really love, things that are going to mix up combat, make things feel fresh and fun, especially stuff that you can do all the way down at like level 1 or 2 and already start to get that kind of unique flavor to it, rather than just using a bandit again and again and again. Which bandits can be great too, don't get me wrong, but I really like being able to mix in that variety and unique mechanics. So that's my number 4, Mephits.
All right. I've got a powerful one here.
All right.
Following my theme. I think this is the last one from my theme for the moment, just because like these are the first 3 that I thought of, just because like I know they're ones that I want to use or am using.
Right.
Baylor. Yep. The huge demon fiend.
The Balrog of Moria.
The Balrog of Moria. Yeah, it is a nasty, nasty creature. It is a what CR is it? It's a 19 CR, so it is up there. And they're dangerous. If you kill it, they blow up.
Yep.
So there's that.
Gosh.
They have a fire aura. Too. Yeah. They have a fire aura, so if you're within 5 feet of it, you take 3d6 just from being near it.
Just from being there, yeah.
They have magic resistance, so they have advantage in all spells and saving throws and other magical effects. Mm-hmm. So, and their weapons are magical. They normally get 2 attacks, one with this flame whip and then another one with a long sword. And not to mention that they can fly. They have 40 feet of movement speed just on the ground, and they can fly 80 movement speed in 6 seconds. That's insane. They can also teleport. So this is a nasty, you better have a high-level, well-equipped party to deal with it, because if not, they need to run and pray to God that they don't turn back, because this thing will mess you up, and I will laugh all the way to it.
They're so cool looking too. Like their counterpart on the devil side would be the Pit Fiend, although they have like different abilities. The Pit Fiend might be more dangerous. I don't really know. But the Balrog just looks so much cooler. I mean, it literally looks exactly like the or not the. See, I just called it a Balrog. The Baylor just looks so much cooler. I mean, it does look exactly like a Balrog. Yeah.
Call a duck and a spade a spade. I mean,
yeah, right.
Be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that fire whip too. It reaches out 30 feet. I know when I've run them before, I've caught a caster unaware and been able to grab him and pull him on in. Yeah.
I knew exactly what it was, and I was like, normally I try not to meta in a game, but they scare me. I'm like, oh no, fuck no, and then he's like, oh yeah, and he pulls me right back. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, get it away from me.
It's a fun ability that they have. I like using those guys. They didn't make my list either, but they're definitely Definitely my favorite demon. That's for sure. Yeah. My number 3 is another low-level creature. I'm actually a little surprised that this made my list and was this high up on my list. But my number 3 favorite monster is the Thug. I really, really, really enjoy that Thug stat block because they are way more powerful than you think they are. You probably don't want to throw one at your level 1 party. Maybe if they don't have any allies.
Right.
But they can, like, you can use them all the way up through level 5, 6, and beyond, and they can still be effective. They get pack tactics. So as long as they have an ally within 5 feet of the person they're attacking, they get advantage on their attacks, and they get to attack twice. Right. Add in the fact that they have like 30-something hit points for a low-level creature. That is quite a bit. So a single Thug, they wouldn't get their pack tactics, so like it's just not a good use of the creature. But you could maybe throw one against a level 1 party and it wouldn't be that bad. But you put just like 2 Thugs in there, level 3, 4 party can still have a real hard time with them because they get like that's still 4 attacks all at advantage potentially. That's a lot. And again, like they're so like, oh, it's just a Thug. Like he's just there with them bandits or whatever. But it's a really fun one to use for me anyway, because again, I can use that all the way through a good amount of time as kind of like the enforcer bad guy until the party eventually outgrows them. But for a long time, you can really put them there in that role to really mess stuff up, and the party kind of has to focus on them, or they're going to get wiped out pretty quickly.
They're pretty intimidating as far as the token is concerned. I mean, they carry a big mace normally. Yeah. And they also have a ranged weapon, so they're a pretty interesting low-level creature to throw at a party for sure. I'm fond of them.
Yeah, they're probably my favorite of like no, they definitely are my favorite of the humanoid bad guys, right? Like you've got if you're trying to like round out like a gang of bandits or whatever, or even just like I use them like it says Thug, but like I use them even as like you can use them as like guards and whatnot too. Like it doesn't have to be like a bad guy stereotype. Well, yeah,
it could be like a shady inn that you're going to collect information, and
he's the bodyguard there or whatever.
He's the bodyguard there, and like if a player, and let's be honest, there's always at least one, and I've been guilty of it too, talking some shit. Mm-hmm. And then he pops you. I mean, it's a cool thing to have like a, hey, this could be an encounter. This could be just social. But if you mouth off too much, he's going to take a blackjack and smack you with it. I mean, that's a cool thing to roll with.
Yeah, and that's a good spot to have them, too, because, again, like they're kind of just blending into the environment. They're just there. You don't think anything strange about the humanoid at the bar or whatever, except, yeah. So they are... They might seem a little bit boring to have on the list, but they are definitely one of my favorites. Right. That's Thug. That is my number 3. We have gone through 5, 4, and 3 for both of us, and we are almost at about halfway. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here. We'll be back in about 3. We'll come back with our 2, 1, maybe go over a couple of honorable mentions, and then not a ton of questions in chat today, but we should be able to get to them. We should have time to get to our questions in the Discord. If there's any other questions live, go ahead and leave them in the chat here for us, and we'll try and get to those as well. But we will be back in about 3.
Is that burning? No, that's just my brain. It'll be okay.
Your brain's on fire?
I'm thinking. Oh yeah, because I'm thinking.
That's sad.
Right. I'm actually excited for this one. I'm excited for this pick. This should fool nobody why it's so high. It's not quite number 1, but it's pretty much a tie. for number one.
Well, in that case, then, welcome back, everyone, to the Flycast. We are back with our ranking episode this week. We are ranking our top 5 favorite monsters in D&D 5e. We do this, we do a ranking video every 5 episodes. So it was time for one. Went through numbers 5 through 3 already. Had some fun ones in there. And we'll go ahead and finish up with numbers 2 and 1. Maybe talk about some honorable mentions. And then go over some questions from the Discord. So, without further ado, Steve, go ahead with your number 2.
Oh, let me roll my eyes back in the back of my head as I slick my hair back as the storms fall, the raindrops fall on the grounds of Barovia. A silent figure stands with a cup in his hand as Strahd von Zarovich looks over the land. Yes, vampires, but not just any vampire. This is an actual stat of its own, because Strahd von Zarovich not only is an intelligent creature, but he is a story that is sad and also at the same time tragic. He is literally the bringer of his own demise, all because he lusted after the woman of his brother and sold his soul to a darker power and changed himself into a monster. For a low-level party, he is impossible to deal with. For a high-level party, he's even difficult. But I always buff him up because I will not let him get taken down early. He can shape change. He has legendary resistances. He has a misty escape outside of his coffin, so that's cool. He regenerates. And not only is he a fantastic warrior, but he is a spellcaster too. He is a fun villain to play. I like it. This one I wanted to be specific about. He is a villain to me because like vampires have different stat breaks of itself, kind of like how orcs do. But you can even make your own version of Strahd in that case, where you have vampire, spawn and things like that, and they're dangerous. It takes magical weapons and stuff like that to defeat him. So he is always fun because it's kind of similar to like a beholder. He's got his own sense of vanity to him. And most vampire lords do. They're 1 minute they can be extremely peaceful, and the next minute they can lash out at you in rage because that's how they are. Emotion is a very swinging pendulum when it comes to vampires. So it's always fun for me to get to play that Strahd von Zarovich to be, oh, buddy, 1 second. And then you say just the one wrong thing, and then he lashes out at you with like a lightning bolt or something. Or you see him rip the throat out of a peasant right in front of you and drink him. I've done that before. He is a interesting class. So he's up there. Like it was really hard for me because like there's a more iconic thing that I want to go over. But this one here, vampires as a whole, is a way to really challenge a party and also craft a cool arc. It doesn't necessarily have to be Strahd, but you could have a vampire lord and you can make him similar to what he is, and it could be a whole arc based off of that. So that's my number 2.
Like, you can do a ton with it, right? Like, I mean,
right.
So, I mean, just putting Strahd aside, but just like with a vampire lord, like, they can command armies. Like, you can, like, that could be your entire campaign, as referenced in Curse of Strahd, right? Like, that is the entire campaign. But yeah, I mean, they could command armies. We saw in Critical Role, Matt Mercer had a whole arc with a vampire that they didn't even know he was a vampire, like, and just kind of like playing that whole like social aspect, and then later on they realize it and they're like, oh shit. I mean, you can do that with your party, and
a lot of intrigue, a lot of story.
Yeah, you can really play up like that whole gothic horror aspect of like, and there's all the vampire tropes, right? They have to be invited inside, and
Yep.
You can mess with your party, having them freak out, and then somebody else invites this dude inside or whatever. Or like
Yep.
you can do all sorts of fun stuff to mess around with them. And then like with Strahd specifically, yeah, he's a great villain. Like most of the time, I don't love using like the Dungeons and Dragons lore villains. I like to create my own, but there are a
He's definitely an
few.
exception.
There are a few that I think there's an exception for. Yeah, I think Strahd is certainly one of them. I didn't put any named stat blocks in my lists, but I would say Orcus,
Ooh, yeah.
Zariel. Those are two names
Mm-hmm.
that come to mind that I also think are fantastic. Zariel is a really interesting villain too because she was an angel.
Right.
She was divine and then got corrupted
Asmodeus.
by the hells. Yeah.
Same thing.
Asmodeus
Yeah.
is pretty awesome too. Yeah. So like, but Strahd is such a compelling villain. There's a really rich and cool backstory behind him, and the whole Curse of Strahd campaign is like it's all about him, and I think that's why that campaign works so well, is because it is literally his playground and he just
Yep.
toys with the party for a
Yeah,
while.
you're just in it.
And I think that's a lot of fun, especially from a DM perspective, but as a player it can be a lot of fun too. Just there aren't a whole lot of campaigns or scenarios in which the party feels like they will die at any second. And that is a scenario, though, in which it's very true. If Strahd ever wanted to, they would just be dead.
Right.
Until, of course,
TPK
they're
right at the
powerful enough
beginning
to
if you
take
want
care
to.
of him. But yeah, and I think that just makes such a compelling villain because it's like, okay, he's already showing up, so what are his actual motivations? Like, you obviously
Right.
don't want to kill the party right away. So what are
Nope.
his actual motivations then, and how do you get to play with that, and how does the party get to kind of interact with that, and then what are they going to do about it? I think that's really, really, really compelling. Because again, like, I mean, it's kind of like my list. I like different mechanics. I like different ideas, different ways of dealing with things. Other than I smack the thing smacks me. Um,
Right.
and I mean that's a perfect example, right? You're just playing mind games with the party throughout an entire campaign. When you're running Strahd, and you can do that again. It doesn't have to be Strahd, but you can do that with a vampire for sure.
Right. You
Just
can do that with an arc. You can do that with like a town that's been taken over with by
mm-hmm.
a vampire lord that they
Yeah, that'd be
don't
so
know
cool.
is a vampire lord, that
Yeah,
you don't know is a vampire lord, but eventually it just comes out. There's
yeah,
just a
that would be
lot of
really
cool
cool. Yeah,
things.
the party just gets invited to a random town. Things are a little
Right.
weird. Like everyone's a little pale. Like
Right.
it could be really cool. And
High
then like
perception
yeah,
checks see like bite marks, things
yeah,
like
the
that.
whole town are now actually vampire spawn. You have to fight your way through all these. Like that could be really, really cool, really interesting
Right.
once everything falls off. It can be like a little uh, you can be bringing in a little bit of kind of that gothic horror into your D&D, which can be a lot of fun to kind of mix up the genres a little bit and do something different. And then like even just in the monster manual, like there are vampire variants to make them spellcasters or warriors as well.
Right.
Because the standard stat block just has like the claws and bite, but like it tells you exactly how to, hey, you want to make them have been a warrior in life? Okay, here's how to like just go ahead and real quick graft on a longsword or something like that.
Right.
Or you want to make them be a spellcaster? Okay, here's real quick how to graft on some spellcasting ability and whatnot. And you can have a lot of fun with that and pair that with like the animate dead spell, and now you've got a vampire lord with an army of vampire spawn, skeletons, and zombies. That's cool.
You got a campaign. That's why
Yeah,
he's so high up there for me, is
yeah,
because there is so much I can do with him. There's so much I can do with the creatures that they command.
hmm
Is just That's why it's like, from, and not necessarily from a power standpoint, because yeah, they're powerful, but there's more powerful creatures.
right,
But you can literally revolve so much around that particular creature because they're intelligent. Same thing with
right,
beholders.
yeah,
You could do the same thing with them too. They're powerful, they have a lot of influence.
mm,
So like the mechanics of the vampire is not what attracts me. It's the lore, and the mystique.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's mine.
My number 2 is surprisingly not my number 1. I thought this might have been my number 1, but this is my number 2, the Mind Flayer.
Really?
I really, really, really like these creatures.
Yeah, I was gonna say you use those a lot. Yeah.
They are, ever since the first time that I really kind of encountered them, I'm like, that's so cool. Super Lovecraftian with their like squid tentacles and whatnot. And then just kind of the whole like psionic aspect that they have, the kind of hive mind that they have with their elder brain and whatnot, and the fact that they are like, I just really like the idea of aberrations in this world of like demons and angels and gods and devils and all this stuff. There are then this category that's undead, fae, whatever. There's this category that's aberrations, and that's just, we got no damn clue where this shit came from, man. It's just way out in the universe somewhere, and that's again, that's just kind of bringing in that Lovecraftian cosmic horror almost, to where it's just like, it's out there. We don't know where it came from or why they are the way that they are. They're just other. I just kind of really like that. It's like, no, we have verifiable fact of gods and devils and all this stuff that, like, in our world we don't see, but in this world they see all that as verifiable fact, and then there's these creatures that are just way beyond anything. I just think that's so cool. I think their aesthetic is really interesting. Again, with the squid face and the nautiloids, which like they're flying ships that have that kind of resemble them. The fact that they are kind of hop through planes. You can put them on the astral sea, or you can put them in the Underdark. They're just at home in either place. The fact that like 3 or 4 other races in D&D were once enslaved by them. That's pretty cool. And that just kind of gives you like an innate hatred for them as well, like really easy ways to make a campaign revolve around them, or at least story arcs revolve around them. The whole hive mind with an elder brain thing, I think is really interesting. I could go on and on and on about them. Like, they're just a lot of fun. I also love that they are not like physically domineering, but they can easily kill a party member. They have that extract brain ability where literally they just wrap their tentacles around someone's head and suck their brain out.
Yeah.
And it's over. Like, there's no save, there's no nothing. Like, you're just dead. Have
a nice day. Do you got a backup in mind?
Right. And I don't love like instant death mechanics, but I don't feel like it is one, because they have to hit you with their tentacle attacks, and then they have to hit you again, or you have to save against I can't remember exactly what it is, but there's 2 separate things that have to happen before they actually get to do that. So, like, everyone in your party has a chance to try and help you out and get you out of that situation. It just builds that tension. And then if the worst happens, well, yeah, they suck your brain out, which is a pretty awesome way to go. That happened to an NPC a few sessions back in Wine Room Adventure Tour. The party liked that NPC, and I liked that NPC too, and the lore behind the Beholders gave me a great NPC, because he was a Githyanki.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I could keep going on and on. They're just so cool. I'm gonna leave it there because I don't want to talk for another 15 minutes. But
you could.
I could, exactly.
I'll take a break. It's cool.
I don't know. I really like them. They're so unique, so different. I love the Lovecraftian aspect. It's not something seen a ton in D&D. I love aberrations. I think it's so cool. I love that they are intelligence-based monsters. There's only a handful of those in D&D. Like, their Psychic Blast has an intelligence saving throw. Almost nothing does that, so your party is totally going to be caught off guard with that. I love that they like conduct experiments on other creatures. They don't like see that as wrong because they view it the same way we would an ant. Like they they view all other sentient creatures as that far below them. Like it's just I don't know. I love them, and I'm done. Mind flayers.
Mind flayers. Gonna gobble your friggin' brains out. All right. I guess I'm gonna go back to my theme here, and I think this is an easy number one. It's probably yours too.
Mm-mm.
No,
No.
it's not. I'll
No.
be damned. Well, I'll go there because it's mine. Because as a DM and as a player, this creature scares the shit out of me. If I see one and I recognize what it is, I'm like, we are boned. Ancient Red Dragon.
Yeah.
The smog of your campaign.
I mean, it's probably the most iconic. Like Beholders and Mind Flayers are super iconic, but the Ancient Red Dragon is probably the most iconic D&D monster, right? Like,
out of all
the
baseline stats that I've used in the game, I've never had a chance to use this one because I'm honestly just too afraid of just wiping my party. Because like normally I feel like I have to buff the HP of a creature. This one only has like 546. And you're going to say, but Steve, that's a lot. Not compared to what a high level Dungeons and Dragons campaign player can do with just, a few short rounds.
Right.
But the damage they can do with just one 90-foot cone, 26d6 fire damage. It's a DC 24 dex check. They have legendary actions. They have a frightful presence.
That's an average of 91 points of damage, by the way.
Yeah, that's going to drop most people. If you got a level 6 or 7 party, fucking run. And pray to God you find cover, because this thing is going to, like, kill you in a heartbeat. Like, as a player, if somebody described it as an ancient red, like, most reds, they still frighten me a little bit, but an ancient, I'm like, dude, I don't think we even got a chance in Hades. But that's one of those stories I would like to tell one of these days where if I know I'm going to go down, man, what a way to go. Go out on your shield, mate, and just, you're going to get roasted, but Valhalla has a wonderful spot for you.
Yeah, I mean, they're the most iconic. All the dragons are cool, but the Ancient Red is, by far the most powerful. It's not even close.
I've got one in my Eberron game that's actually, I haven't even told the players, but there's a reason why a lot of the ships and everything steer away from flying over, because there's Ancient Red that with wands that kind of patrols with wands.
With wands, yeah.
Because it's a magical area, and after it got decimated, it's just ripe for the picking for creatures like this, because it can actually handle anything there. It's not afraid.
Yeah, I've got an Ancient Red in the Wine Run Adventure Tour game that you guys are planning on stealing from, so it should be fun.
Woo!
Yeah, I've never run one of those either, but I would love to. They're certainly an honorable mention for me. Yeah. As far as my number one, well, real quick, honorable mentions. There's so many. I really like the Green Dragon also. Any level of them, because again, it's another intelligent one that tries to deceive people. I think that's cool. Rakshasa, I love those. Again, just kind of shape-shifting and deceiving the party. Aboleth, love that. Another intelligence-based monster.
Death Knights.
Death Knight's pretty awesome. With that like massive fire attack that they have. There's so many. Umber Hulks, Revenants. I love those. Revenants have a lot of cool lore behind them. Heck, I love a gelatinous cube. They're so much fun.
Your brother didn't.
I killed Grady with one once. There are so many really fun ones. But my number one favorite D&D monster, Intellect Devourer.
Ew. You would.
This thing is so weird. I love it so much. a lot of similar reasons to why I like not beholders. What am I talking about? Mind flayers. They're also aberrations. Mind flayers make them. There's a whole lot of that going on as well. But I just love the fact. First of all, it looks creepy and awesome. It's a brain with like bear paws. That's really cool. And then it does have a claw attack, I believe, but what it really does is it can stun you and then teleport into your brain and like replace your brain with it, and then like walk you around like a puppet, basically.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, you are no longer you. Like, it's another one that can instantly kill someone. But again, like, rather than just a one-time, oh, you failed to save, so you're dead, or, oh, it hit you, so you're dead. It's not an instant death mechanic, but it is an, oh, shit, we need to save this person now mechanic. Because there are multiple fail states, so you do get a chance to try and overcome it. But it's very, very, very deadly. And it could be absurdly deadly to a level 20 player, too. Like, that level 20 player could kill it with one attack, for sure. But if that Intellect Devourer does its little stun thing on it, shit, you're a fail away from being done. And I think that's so cool that a monster that's that, like, weak can be that powerful at the same time. And I've heard it said that as DMs, our job is to create tension, and I kind of agree with that. And I think it was really cool, for instance, when the Wine Women Adventure Tour was down fighting a Mind Flayer, and there were a couple of Intellect Devourers, and they realized what was happening and killed some of them, but one of them was able to stun Dash Wilder, and luckily was never able to teleport into his brain. I think you saved like 2 or 3 times, and then they ended up getting the thing killed, or like it couldn't jump through a hole somewhere or something. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it got you stunned, but couldn't quite finish the job. And that was really fun, because every time it came back to that turn, it was like, this could be it. We don't really know what's going to happen. But it was awesome. Like, I'm glad that it didn't instantly kill you. But it was a lot of fun and super tense, and the party ended up overcoming it. And that just wouldn't have happened without a creature like that. I think they are very, very unique. I've never seen anything like them. And they are my favorite creature in 5e.
You know, it's a good thing I didn't die, because you know what the party would have got if that would have happened, right?
Hulk Hogan?
Nah.
Worse?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Grendel.
Oh, gosh.
That'll heal ya.
Grendel, who has been affectionately dubbed Grendel the Ass.
Or he's a terror in children's tales, as Mutt likes to say.
Right.
The Grendel's gonna come and get you. Who is a life cleric, by the way.
Just not very life-giving.
He's not. He doesn't. He's a douchebag.
Right. That is our top 5 favorite D&D monsters, though, with a few honorable mentions. We can go ahead and take a few questions here from Discord, and then we'll sign off, because we're kind of getting up on it here.
Right.
Discord questions. First one here. Do you guys have a favorite monster that the D&D community tends to think is overrated or overused?
I've never been told that, to be honest. I've never had anybody complain about it.
I actually really like goblins. They're crazy overused, I think, especially at low levels, but I really do like them. So I think that you can, if you play them well, they can be really obnoxious with their, like...
They can rough you up.
Yeah, with their just kind of shooting their arrows from a distance and then running away and trying to hide. They can be real freaking pains in the ass.
Right.
I would say that's probably...
Now you see me, now you don't kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably my favorite, like, overused monster. This is a good one actually from Koa. Are there any monsters you think look slick as a mother flipping heck, but fall flat on really putting that sickness into execution? Are there any monsters that you like the flavor of that you think look really cool, but like in mechanics and in practice
They
just
fall flat.
yeah.
I mean, I think we were talking about that earlier. It was the Godzilla of Dungeons and Dragons. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Tarask I definitely think is one of them, yeah.
It is like it's very intimidating and can be very deadly but like a high level party will smoke it.
Yeah.
And it's just not, it just falls really flat of what I would look for.
I think
I would have to homebrew that more.
I think not only that, but it's just annoying and dumb. Like it makes it to where a spellcaster is basically useless against it because they save on everything, and a spell attack will just bounce off its hide. So you can't cantrip it. You can't make a spell attack against it because it'll just bounce off even if you hit. Doesn't matter. Bounces off. If you hit, it's bad because then it bounces off and hits you. And if you have to make a saving throw, it's got like plus 15 to all it saves. So you can't do anything as a spellcaster except buff the party, hopefully. Your melee characters will be able to hit it, but then will be attacked back. I mean, you've heard it said, the best strategy, the best way to fight one is, well, just have infinite arrows and be on a magic carpet flying backwards, because it has no ranged attack. Like, that's just dumb. If it's supposed to be Godzilla, why does it have, like, an atomic breath like Godzilla does? That'd be cool. Right. Or call it a fire breath, or whatever you want to do. I think there are much better ways to go about that monster than the way the monster manual does. And I think the best way to use it really is never as something that gets fought, but maybe as, like, a ancient force of nature that is kind of like background plot, that if you see it, you just kind of run away from it rather than ever fight it. I think that's a decent way to use it. But yeah, as it is in the monster manual, I think that one's awful. I'm
sure there's other ones, but that one always comes to mind first because it's such a high CR, and it's just like, I threw one at you guys because it made sense for like a Titan. But it was like a last-ditch effort, and you guys were high level, and it had some cool things where it swallowed our barbarian twice, but overall, I just don't.
I think I would also say every stat block for the Demon Lords and Archdevils that are in Mordenkainen's, I think the stat blocks as they are just way too weak.
Right.
You know, I think there's a couple of them. I think there's a couple of them that are in like the 200 or under hit point range, and like you're telling me that this creature like rules a circle of hell. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think mostly it's those ones that are supposed to be crazy powerful that are like, really, that I would kind of put in that category. James asks, anytime I've played, there haven't been an abundance of dragons in D&D campaigns. Why is that? Also, do you think an ancient dragon could take on a god?
No.
Yeah, I would just say no. I mean, not just as is in the monster manual. You could obviously homebrew anything. Like, if you want to make a ancient red dragon who's been around since the creation of the world and like is as old as time itself and has power rivaling a god, that's cool. But as is in the monster manual, no. But as far as haven't been an abundance of dragons, why?
There are. Hey, Adrian, how you doing, buddy?
What up, homie?
I think there's a reason why I have them few and far is because they're supposed to be used sparingly. They're not supposed to be creatures that you just always run into.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be mythical. They're supposed to be most of them, if they are going to interact with mortals, they're going to do it in a mortal form. They're going to polymorph or something like that. They're not like, especially good dragons. Like, good dragons will probably have more interaction with you, but dragons like reds and stuff are loners, even amongst their own race, because they're treasure hoarders. They're extremely selfish beings. They don't want to be around you. They don't want to be anywhere near you unless you have something for them to take from your dead corpse to add it to their collection. So there's a reason why I don't like. I like to use them as bosses or like, story points, but it's not something you're going to see as a random encounter.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it depends on the setting, right? Like, you can make a setting where that's overflowing with dragons. I just don't know how that works. I think the way that they're created in the monster manual is to be a solo monster, or maybe an adult with a couple of wormlings or something like that. If you have your world overflowing with dragons, then that means that they would be the dominant species. Like, they would just have to.
Your race could be enslaved. Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be honest, that could be an interesting campaign.
Right.
Humanity's been enslaved by chromatic dragons or something like that, and
the good dragons are nowhere to be.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting idea for a campaign. Honestly, I think kind of a more default setting though is just that they are more rare. I just think that's how fantasy generally is. Plus, like, if there's too many of them, like. Yeah, if you're seeing red dragons everywhere you turn, then they should just be ruling the world. They're just too powerful. Last question. Why don't you use more mimics in your campaigns? I'm not even actually acknowledging that. Steve uses them all the time. What are
as much as I used
No, you've backed off a lot. But what are other level 1 monsters to fight other than kobolds and goblins that you like to use? I like that one.
Bandits. Honestly, bandits are a thing.
Yeah, I actually think a bandit stat is a lot better than people give it credit for. I like using humanoids a lot.
Right. You can make it interesting and give them like a boss or something like that. Because it's like I've explained CRs to people, like bandits are above a normal person because they're fighting amongst each other and they're robbing you. So they're on par with a level 1 level 2 adventurer. So
I would definitely echo that. I think there's a few other humanoids that you can use as low level, like apprentice wizards and that sort of thing. Acolyte, cultist. I like cultist a lot. I use cultists a lot, actually. Mephits, I said that earlier. Orc might be a little too powerful. Maybe if there's only 1 or 2 of them.
Right.
There's some suggestions. But with that, we are out of time. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Those of you here live in chat, you are amazing. Wolves seem to be go-to as well. Yeah, wolves are good also.
Yeah, wolves are good.
There are a number of beasts that work really well. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. If you have not, whether you're watching it live or on YouTube, listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, if you have not yet, go ahead and follow links, join the Discord. That way you can know what we will be talking about beforehand. Leave questions like the ones we just had here. We can hit those and respond to them live here for you. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Moving forward, I think Steve, you can catch over at Steve of the DMO, twitch.tv/Steve of the DMO. He streams over there. Believe you're streaming, planning on streaming later on tonight. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm gonna go shoot shit.
Destiny, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
He does a lot of Destiny. He's been doing some Zelda, D&D prep, all that stuff. So he streams off and on over there. We'll be streaming tonight. Normally streams a game on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern as well. That's his Midgard game. That's where you can catch that Battle of Helm's Deep that he was talking about, basically.
It's gonna be sexy.
Big ol' war happening over there. on this channel right here at Fly Captain, we will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern with a brand new campaign. We'll go live with us rolling up some characters, talking about some lore, and then we will get into playing during the second part of that, see how far we get. But it should be fun. New group of players, new campaign, and then we will be back here next Tuesday with the Eberron game as well. So we'll see you guys at those times, hopefully. Until then, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and have a good one.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.